Well, recently, the Saudi Minister of Municipalities and Housing, Majed Al-Hogail, said that the capital, Riyadh, needs 130,000 houses a year to keep up with demand. Well, he made that comment to Al Arabia's business channel during the launch of Cityscapes Global in London. Well, that event saw 100 international companies and investment funds managing projects with assets exceeding $4.4 trillion. Well, as the kingdom undergoes a rapid economic transformation, there is an immediate demand for quality, world-class housing to accommodate the talent influx. Well, speaking on the sidelines of that event in London, the Saudi minister told Al Arabiya senior reporter Karina Kamel about sustainability growing the sector and while successfully scaling foreign investor appetite at the same time. Let's listen in.
I would like to start by asking you about Vision 2030 and to what extent is the real estate sector in Saudi Arabia having an impact or contributing to the goals of diversifying the economy and indeed achieving the social transformation that is part of Vision 2030?
Real estate, all of us knows it's a foundation for every project. If you look to the diversity of the Vision 2030, you can see many sectors: tourism, for example, housing, for example, industrial, sports, etc. So the ecosystem of Saudi Arabia, when it comes to real estate, was one of the focus to ensure that the quality of deploy or engaging or even developing, it is within the international best standard, and that's what we have done during Vision 2030 and what we have reached until now.
Growth has been phenomenal in the real estate sector, both in terms of the actual activity but also prices. What do you think is fueling this momentum we're seeing in growth in the sector?
It's the Vision 2030, and the demand is not locally, but it's also globally, also the ecosystem of investment in Saudi Arabia and the regulation that has been developed a few years ago made Saudi one of the easy doing business to be ranked one of the top. Plus that the concentrate or the focus for all government, like e-government, like the technology and the innovation in Saudi Arabia, that's helped to fuel all that. But don't forget, Saudi, it's a young population, and that's made and young and adaptation of the international standards made the offering be diversified as well as the demand itself.
Exactly, and I wanted to ask you about that, because how do you make sure that this kind of growth that you're seeing is indeed sustainable in the longer term?
First is when it comes to the development, we ensure that the development quality, it's at very following the sustainabilities and the standards itself. When it comes to the mortgage, we have a responsible lending that makes sure that people, when they borrow, to do that. We have invested a lot on supply-demand control to make sure always that this does not, we don't want to oversupply, but also we don't want to be under to do that. So how we always looking to the ecosystem of supply demand. Also, we are bringing our cities to be more for a human, for the people who live in the city, not the cars itself. So we are revisiting the accessibility, for example, within 800 meters to the public space, etc. This kind of quality ensure the sustainability of the development and ensure that this will last longer, inshallah.
And just a final question, can you give us a sense, we're here in London, you're meeting with lots of investors, can you give us a sense, how do you gauge foreign investor appetite for investing in the sector in Saudi Arabia?
I think Saudi reputation globally now, when you go everywhere in any event or any meeting in the world, Saudi becomes one of the countries that most of people look to it. Not necessarily invest, but at least look to it and become one of the consideration. I think a lot of our effort from our colleagues in the investment ministry, a lot of engagement that made the appetite is quite high. We are very happy and with what we see as year after year from the engagement that we see from discussing. Now we see a lot of international companies in Saudi Arabia, and that gives us more confidence to really continue this dialogue with the international investors.